I didn't make my first million by saving harder. I made it by thinking differently about money. In the beginning, I did what most people do. I tracked expenses, tried to cut unnecessary spending, and focused on saving a portion of my income. And while that's responsible, it's also limited. Because there's a ceiling to how much you can save, but there's no ceiling to how much you can earn. That realization changed everything. Instead of obsessing over small savings, I shifted my focus to leverage, the ability to create more output from the same input. And there are three types that matter most. First, skills. Not just any skills, high-income skills. I asked myself, what can I learn that people are willing to pay a premium for? Communication, sales, problem-solving, and digital expertise became my priority. These aren't just skills, they're income accelerators. The more valuable you are, the more you can earn, without working more hours. Second, time. I stopped thinking in terms of hours worked, our money earned. That model keeps you stuck. Instead, I looked for ways to decouple my time from my income. That meant focusing on work that could scale, projects, systems, and outputs that continue to generate value even when I'm not actively working. Third, assets. This is where the real shift happens. Assets are things that make you money without constant effort. Investments, digital products, equity, or anything that generates income on its own. Early on, it's small. But over time, it builds momentum. The key is this. I stopped asking, how can I save more? And started asking, how can I become more valuable? Because when you increase your value, income follows. And when income grows, investing becomes easier. And when investing compounds, wealth becomes inevitable. Most people stay stuck because they focus on shrinking their lifestyle instead of expanding their potential. But wealth isn't built by playing small. It's built by thinking bigger, acting smarter, and using leverage to multiply your efforts. You don't get rich by cutting back on life. You get rich by leveling up your value and letting leverage do the heavy lifting. If your income relies on one source, you're one problem away from zero. For a long time, I believed the goal was to increase my income, get a raise, negotiate better, maybe switch jobs. And yes, that helps. But it's still a linear game. More effort, slightly more money. The real breakthrough came when I stopped thinking about income as a single stream and started building a system of streams. I began with my primary income, treating it as the foundation, not the destination. Instead of spending everything I earned, I used it strategically to learn new skills, invest in tools, and buy back my time. That income wasn't just for living, it was fuel for growth. Then came secondary income. I looked at what I already knew and asked, how can I monetize this differently? That led to side projects, freelancing, consulting, small opportunities that didn't require starting from zero. At first, the returns were modest, but something important was happening. I was no longer dependent on a single source. The next level was scalable income. This is where effort stops being directly tied to earnings. Instead of getting paid once for my time, I focused on creating things that could pay me repeatedly, digital products, repeatable services, or investments that grow over time. It's slower to build, but once it works, it changes everything. Here's what most people don't realize. Income doesn't feel exciting in the beginning. It feels messy, inconsistent, and small. There's a phase where you're putting in extra effort with very little visible reward. This is the invisible phase, and it's where most people quit. But if you stay consistent, something shifts. Your skills stack. Your network grows. Your opportunities expand. And suddenly, income stops growing in a straight line. It starts to multiply. One stream supports another. One opportunity leads to three more. What once felt like effort starts to feel like momentum. The goal isn't to juggle endless side hustles. It's to build a few intentional, aligned streams that work together. Because real financial security isn't about how much you earn. It's about how many ways you can earn. Don't rely on one stream. Build a system where your income compounds, supports itself, and grows beyond your direct effort. Saving money feels safe, but safety alone will never make you wealthy. For a long time, I treated money like something fragile, something I needed to protect at all costs. I saved diligently, avoided risks, and felt a sense of control watching my bank balance grow. But over time, I realized something uncomfortable. My money wasn't growing. It was standing still and quietly losing value. That's when I understood the difference between playing defense and playing offense with money. Defense is important. It's budgeting, emergency funds, and avoiding unnecessary debt. It protects you from falling backwards, but it doesn't move you forward. Wealth is built on offense, so I shifted my strategy. Instead of asking, how do I keep this money safe? I started asking, how do I make this money work? That meant stepping into investing, not recklessly, but intentionally. I started simple, broad low-cost index funds, long-term thinking. No chasing trends, no emotional decisions. I wasn't trying to get rich overnight. I was building a system that would grow quietly in the background. And here's the truth most people miss. Investing isn't about timing the market. It's about timing the market. At first, the progress feels slow, almost invisible. You invest and nothing dramatic happens. But beneath the surface, something powerful is building, compound growth. Your returns start generating their own returns. Small gains turn into meaningful ones, and over time, the growth becomes exponential, not linear. But this only works if you stay consistent. The biggest mistakes I avoided: pulling money out during downturns, chasing hot investments out of fear of missing out, letting emotions override strategy. Because wealth isn't built in moments of excitement, it's built in moments of discipline. I also realized that investing isn't just about money, it's about mindset. You stop thinking short term, you stop reacting. You start making decisions based on where you want to be in 5, 10, 20 years. That shift changes everything. Because once your money starts working harder than you do, you're no longer just earning, you're building wealth. Saving protects your money, investing multiplies it. If you want real wealth, you have to stop playing defense and start playing offense. Making your first million isn't about a lucky break. It's about becoming the kind of person who can handle it. For a long time, I thought wealth was external. More income, better opportunities, the right timing. But the biggest shift didn't happen in my bank account. It happened in how I thought. Because money amplifies who you already are. If your mindset is reactive, impatient, or short-term focused, more money won't fix it. It will expose it. So I had to change the way I operated. I stopped asking questions like, can I afford this? A question that often shuts down possibility. Instead, I started asking, how can I afford this strategically? That small shift forced me to think creatively, to look for solutions, and to focus on growth rather than limitation. I also learned the power of delayed gratification. Not in a restrictive way, but in a strategic one. I wasn't saying no to everything. I was saying no to things that didn't align with where I wanted to go. Every decision became a trade-off, short-term comfort versus long-term freedom. And most of the time, I chose freedom. Patience became my advantage. While others chased quick wins, I focused on consistency. While others reacted emotionally to money, panic selling, impulsive spending, I stayed grounded in a plan. That doesn't mean it was easy. There were moments of doubt, comparison, and frustration. But I stopped letting those emotions drive my decisions. Because here's the truth. Wealth building is less about intelligence and more about behavior. It's about showing up even when results are slow, staying disciplined when no one is watching, trusting the process when it feels like nothing is happening. Over time, these behaviors shape your identity. And once your identity changes, your results start to follow. You don't accidentally build wealth. You build it by becoming someone who thinks long-term, acts intentionally, stays consistent under pressure. And the moment that shift happens, everything else starts to align. Your income, your investments, your opportunities. Because the goal was never just to make $1 million. It was to become someone who could create it again. You don't reach $1 million and then change your mindset. You change your mindset first, and that's what makes the $1 million possible.